And here's what we're going to end up with: a randomly generated collection of NFTs with associated metadata put together from image layers and ready to put onto the blockchain. So I'm going to show you how to do this, how to put this all together step by step in an easy way so you don't have to do this all manually. All right, so let's talk about images, the backbone of your NFT collection. Most NFTs are built up in layers and combining different image layers to form unique pictures. So this gives you the ability to create, much larger collections than you might be able to do otherwise, drawing everything manually. For the purpose of this video and as an example, I've put together some basic pixel art in 3 different layers that we're going to combine together to make about a 100 NFT collection. So I'll show you how I'm going through that and how I'm automating the process of combining all the image layers and generating the metadata. But as I was saying, artwork. Important thing to know, if you're going to use this layering method for your NFTs, make sure your layers have transparent backgrounds and they can stack on top of each other to create a cohesive image. So with this collection I've just made a few different backgrounds here. We got a red, a blue, a green, a gray, a gold, a beige, and I've got some little pixel art dogs, Vislas, if you will, in a layer that's above the background, and then in a layer above these dogs, I've got a border layer. So we're going to combine the borders with the dogs with the backgrounds and generate a bunch of different combinations there. All right, there's 3 things you're going to need installed to follow along with the steps of this video. The first thing you're going to want to have is the latest version of Python. The tools we're going to be working with are Python based. You don't need to know how to code, but we're going to need to have this installed on our computer so that we can run these the libraries that we need that we're going to get from GitHub. Which brings me to the second thing. You're going to want a GitHub account, and I highly recommend getting the GitHub desktop application. This definitely streamlines your workflow. And the last thing I would recommend having is Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE, but I definitely recommend Visual Studio, which is what I'll be using for this video. All right, so getting into the fun stuff, the tool we're going to use to combine these NFT layers and create the metadata is the Solseum NFT generator. So you can go to their GitHub here to get it. And this is a pretty simple tool, and I've been using it for a while. I like the way it works. There's a lot of these out there, so you can kind of pick and choose what you need to, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to be using this. And if you have GitHub desktop, you can quite simply just click code, open with GitHub desktop, then click clone. Cool, cloned. Now I'm just going to click open in Visual Studio Code. So there we go. 4 clicks, I'm set up, ready to go. So once you're in the tool, we're going to navigate over here to input. This is where we're going to put everything that we need for the project. So there's template, this template.json file. This is going to be the base template for your metadata. And then assets is where we're going to put images. And now the naming convention here is very particular for this tool and will generate the names of your attribute type and attribute. So definitely follow the naming convention. So let's go ahead and build this out a little bit. We're going to call this little project Pixel Vislas. So I'm just editing the template metadata here that we're going to use. Symbol, definitely give your NFT collection a symbol. This is used by the Magic Eden API. So we'll call it sviz pixels. Description, roam the galaxy searching for a loving home. Seller fee basis points, make this whatever you want. Image, this is going to get modified on an individual basis for each of your NFTs, so you don't need to modify that. External URL, if you have a web page, you can throw that in. Collection, this is sort of a deprecated metadata feature on Solana, so I'm going to remove this entirely. Same thing with creators. I'm going to leave the properties, attributes, category, image all alone. Don't need to do anything with that. This will, the tool itself will fill that in for each individual NFT as we generate them. All right, so I'm going to save that. That's our template metadata for this collection. All right, so now let's look at images. So I've navigated to this input folder, assets folder on my computer. The naming convention here is very simple, but it's important to understand. So the 0 through 6, each folder is a different layer. And within each layer, we have the potential images that you would like to use for that layer. And so these are going to layer on in this order. So 0 would be the bottom layer, then 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 6, which would be the top layer. The name here is going to be the name of the attribute for the NFT. So the 0 dash will go away. You need to prefix any of your folders with number dash to signify what the layer is, and then give it the name of what the attribute is going to be called. Within the folders, you've got a similar numbering system, but this is very important. You've got these numbers are the target percentage rarity, right? I'm going to say that again. It's the target percentage rarity. And after the dash here is the attribute name. So we've got attribute type background, attribute name. We've got these different colors. And it's very important that all these numbers add up to 100. So in theory, this would be 1%. This would be pretty rare. These are all percentages. So the rarest background here would be the cyan, up all the way up until orange, which is in theory 78%. And these are just target. This helps give you some control over what assets you want to be rare and what assets you want to be common. And you do that through this numbering scheme. This example is great, but I want to use my images. So what I'm going to do is delete all these folders and assets, leave the asset folder itself. I'm going to put my own folders in here. So we're going to do 0 backgrounds, Vislas, border. All right, in backgrounds, I'm going to paste my backgrounds. So we've got the format. Make sure this all adds up to 100, 5 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 30 plus 35. Looks good. Visla, I'm going to post my pixel art dogs here that I just created. Cool, looks good. And let's shuffle these percentages around a little bit. We'll make this Weimaraner variation a little bit less. We'll make the normal one a little more common. And then on the next layer, we're going to throw our borders in. So something important I forgot to mention, if you want to leave out a layer, you can just make a completely transparent image. So this is just a transparent alpha layer, if you will, image. And so we're going to combine this randomly. So some images in this collection won't have a border. And let's modify this percentage a little bit. We'll go about 30% won't have a border. There we go. I think that adds up to 100. All right, now I'm going to do something else as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer called special talent. And in this layer, I'm not actually going to add any images. I'm just going to add blank alpha layers with a trait on here. What this is going to do, this is going to add another random attribute to each Visa NFT. It won't show up in the images, but it will give them a, special talent. And this is something you can do to add additional attributes in the metadata, just to give your NFTs a little more unique flavor. All right, and there we go. We've got all of our layers. This is ready to run. All right, and before you go and run this, I highly recommend going over to the README on GitHub and reading through the different commands here. Create public NFTs, create whitelist NFTs, create giveaway NFTs, and you can mix and match them. And this is just going to put the NFTs in different folders. So it's just an organizational method. So I don't really care about that too much. We're just going to make 100 basic NFTs in the same folder. Okay, so let's try to run this. So I'm going to open a new terminal, and all we're going to need to do is, so depending on your Python install, you might have to type Python 3 main.py-p, which will be create a public folder, and then the number of NFTs you want to generate. In this case, it's going to be 100. For my particular Python install, it's just going to be py-main -p 100. Enter. You can see it calculates the max amount of NFTs I can create with these possibilities, which in my case is 1,050. As a rule of thumb, you always want to be creating sort of a small percentage of the maximum possible. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of NFTs that look almost exactly alike. All right, so that's done. Let's check out our output. So all the NFTs are going to go into output. So we have some rarity plots too. Let's have a look at this. All right, this is our plot of the background rarity, border distribution, traits, visas. And what's also kind of nice, it generates this ranking file, NFT ranking file, which will actually rank your rarest NFTs, which has, the combination of most rare features together. But here it is. Here's the collection output, which is in a perfect format, just ready for uploading using Candy Machine, which I'll get into in the next videos. Check out the metadata. Metadata looks good. We've got attributes, and you can see a special trait here. So this guy has the lazy trait. And there we go. We've got a perfect little collection of NFTs. Now, it may also be desirable to exclude certain backgrounds with certain, or we'll say certain layers with other layers when generating these NFTs. For example, maybe you don't want to have a gold background with a gold dog here, and keep that excluded in your combinations. So I'm going to get into how to do that in the next video. So please subscribe and then stay tuned, and that one will be out hopefully in a week. But that's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next videos. I'm going to take this through the rest of the process using the Candy Machine command line tool to get this simple NFT collection completely on the blockchain.